Refusal rates have gone up in the recent years. For example, did you guys know that the Philippines refusal rate is at 40%? That means 4 out of 10 applicants get their Canada visa applications refused. And that's not a small issue. In fact, it's quite alarming, and it just goes to show how challenging it is to apply to come to Canada. And perhaps you're watching this right now because you recently got an application refused and you want to know what to do next. With that, in today's video, I'll be covering the 3 common reasons for refusal and what to do next in case you already gotten a rejection or refusal on your application. Looking back in hindsight, I probably should have done this first before moving forward with my case study videos, but oh well, it doesn't hurt to learn backwards. To start off, let's first discuss the common reasons for refusal. That way, you are aware and you can take the preventative approach to avoid or reduce your chances of getting a refusal on your application. The first reason is lack of finances. As part of your study permit application, you will need to show proof of funds. Proof of funds basically shows how much you have so that the officer will be convinced that you are able to support yourself and your stay here in Canada. It will become problematic if you don't have enough money, and it's also a problem if you cannot prove that you have enough funds to support yourself and your stay in Canada. Another reason for refusal is your purpose to come to Canada. Sometimes the immigration officer may not believe your intentions to come to Canada, so the immigration officer must understand why you are coming here for studies. Another possible reason why they would question your purpose depends on your limited travel history, very little social or economic ties, or probably a wide gap in your education or work history. Another situation where the immigration officer may question your file is because they are not fully convinced that the education you'll be receiving in Canada will help you further your career or your education path. Third reason for refusal is because the immigration officer is not convinced that you will leave Canada at the end of your stay. They may think that you have a hidden agenda or an ulterior motive to come to Canada. But guys, these are just some of the reasons of why you would get a refusal on your application, and it's not the end of the world in case you do find one coming your way. So let's assume that you already got a rejection. Rachel, what do I do next? Well, there's still hope, and there's actually several options that you can choose from in case you do have a rejection on your application. Your options are to reapply or to appeal the decision to the federal court. Now, what's the difference? Reapplying means that you believe that the grounds for a refusal were valid, which is why your next course of action would be to submit a new application. Whereas appealing means that you believe your application has met all the requirements but was unreasonably refused. Therefore, your next course of action is to appeal the decision to the federal court. In both options, you can either choose to do it yourself or to seek help from an immigration lawyer. Immigration consultants and immigration agencies are not qualified to help you appeal a decision to the federal court. Immigration consultants can help you reapply. Immigration agencies are basically a no-no in both cases. Immigration agencies, moreover, are not allowed to give you legal advice and charge you a fee simply because they are not qualified to do the job at all. I thoroughly explained the reasons why they're illegal in a video found here. Now, in terms of making the choice to DIY or to seek legal help, in my opinion, when you do get an application refused, it's best to seek legal help from a professional, aka an immigration lawyer. Whether you decide to reapply or to appeal, immigration lawyers can suggest the best option in your decision and also help you weigh out the benefits and detriments of both. Lawyers are trained and experienced to address the immigration officer's concerns or make legal arguments for you if you do decide to appeal the decision to the federal court. I'm just saying this so that you know that you have several legal options to choose from before you decide on a path. Before reapplying or appealing a refused decision, it's also good to know the reasons for refusal. The refused decision letter that you usually get is quite general, and it does not mention the specific reasons for why your application got refused. So in order to get those specific reasons for refusal, you would need to access the officer's notes to know what was said about your application. These notes are often referred to as the Global Case Management System notes or your GCMS Notes. The GCMS Notes contains all relevant details in your application. The comments and notes found there are extremely useful in either addressing the immigration officer's concerns on a new application or using the information there to appeal a decision to the federal court. But do take note, you have to be presently in Canada to get one. If you are not in Canada, then you can get a third party to request one on your behalf. Now, how would things flow if you were to choose one over the other? Well, let me paint you a picture. In both cases, once you receive a refusal on your application, you must immediately act on it or do something about it right away. If you reapply, you or your lawyer can review the reasons for refusal and look for ways to address it. For instance, if your GCMS note states that you have insufficient funds to finance your studies, you can look for other ways to prove that you do in fact have adequate funds to support your studies in Canada. It could be by having a third party, like a family or friend, pay for or provide accommodation while you are living in Canada. Or you can also prove that you have sufficient funds by making a large deposit to a Canadian financial institution or paying at least 1 year of your tuition fees in advance. Once you have figured out how to address the immigration officer's concerns, then the next step is to take action. You may want to gather documents such as bank statements, legal documents from your third party, receipt of proof of payment of tuition fees, and the like. After you have gathered all the necessary documents, then you will have to update your study permit application forms. And lastly, it is also wise to write a well-written and well-supported letter of explanation or a statement of purpose letter. An LOE or an SOP is extremely useful for the immigration officer reviewing your file, as it can address all the possible gaps that could be found in your application. If the letter is well written with good legal documents and evidence for support, this should help convince the officer to accept your application. And guys, this case study shows just how important it is to have a well-written SOP, so check that out. However, if the officer still refuses your application, then you can use your LOE as a crucial piece of evidence in your appeal to the federal court. Now, how about an appeal? How would that look like? If you decide to appeal, then take note, you guys, there is a deadline to file an appeal. And if you do not file on time, then your appeal will not be heard. Well, there is an exception to this rule, but I think that that's beyond me or beyond this video. And so it's still best to contact an immigration lawyer regarding this matter. Important thing to remember as well is that only you or an immigration lawyer can appeal a decision to the federal court, and this is called an application for judicial review. It is highly recommended to seek help from an immigration lawyer, okay? The first stage of the appeal would be paper-based, and if you're lucky to get to the second stage, it will be oral arguments before the judge. Basically, you or your lawyer will review the refused decision and determine what legal arguments can be made. Legal arguments are arguments based on law, policy, and facts. Legal arguments are a form of persuasion through logic and reason. So if this is not your area of expertise, it's best to seek help from an immigration lawyer. If you and your appeal was granted, then your study permit application will be processed by another immigration officer, but it does not guarantee that the new immigration officer will approve your study permit application. If you choose to reapply and your application was accepted, then you are on your way to Canada. If not, it's probably best to consider appealing the decision to the federal court with the help of an immigration lawyer. If you appeal and your appeal was granted, then your study permit application will be reviewed by another immigration officer. But this does not guarantee that they will approve your study permit application. My opinion though, there's a good chance that it will be, but again, that's ultimately up to the immigration officer reviewing your file. Now let's discuss the takeaway points for this video. There are two ways to approach a problem: before they occur through preventative measures, or after through reactive measures. It's not the end of the world when you do receive a refusal on your application, but it does require a call to action right away because of certain time limits. You have legal options to choose from, such as to reapply or appeal a decision to the federal court. And if I were you, I highly recommend seeking help from an immigration lawyer after you get a refusal. You'll feel more secured and reassured knowing that someone else has your back. And it's a good feeling to know that you've gone directly to the right person that can address the problem effectively and efficiently. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have for today. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and also subscribe to my channel to get more golden nuggets on immigrating to Canada. I hope you guys are staying safe during this unpredictable time, and I wish you all the best of luck in your journey to come to Canada. Thank you once again for watching. Keep safe, and of course, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!